welcome to Chillies Kitchen. We have an amazing recipe today, an authentic pork vindaloo. No, not that volcanic dish from your local takeaway, but the real deal, an authentic Goan dish laden with garlic and vinegar. The pork was stored in barrels full of vinegar to preserve it on its journey to India, and then it got spiced up by the local cooks. Expect an authentic recipe and some exclusive tips on how to get a meat curry right.
Okay, on with the show. I have to be organised so that I can impart my wisdom to you. So we're going to make the peri peri masala. In order to do that, we've got a whole load of spices. I'm going to tell you a simplified version of this as well, just to explain to people you don't need a million spices if you don't have them. But for the moment, here's the full Monty. We've got lovely cinnamon, coriander, cumin, which are in most Indian dishes, peppercorns for the heat, the beautiful flavours of star anise, menthol, sweetness of cloves, cardamom. We've then got ginger and garlic, we've got turmeric, we've got apple cider vinegar, which will give it that Vindaloo vinegar aspect, and then we've got degi mirch or kashmiri mirch, which is a chili powder which isn't as spicy but very red in colour. So you could put everything in a blender and whiz it up for the peri peri masala, but I've decided to use my James Martin machine, and I'm going to grind the dry spices. The cardamom pods, I broke up the cinnamon. The cardamom pods you need to break up in a pestle and mortar and then take the seeds out. So you can see I've blitzed up the cardamom pods, and I'm going to take out the seeds and leave the skin out. Make sure you give it a good whiz so that the powder's fine. And that's pretty fine, I think. Then we're going to add separately in my chopper attachment, I'm going to add the vinegar, garlic and ginger. So the ginger has been peeled and I'm going to chop it coarsely. And again, we're going to free the garlic from the natural wrapping, and we'll chop it coarsely as well. Okay, we've got some lovely garlic now, lovely ginger. I'm going to blitz that down with the cider vinegar, 100 ml of the cider vinegar. The degi milk I'm going to put into the powder that I already created, so 2 heaped tablespoons, and then we'll be ready to go. Bit of a chef tip, I'm just going to measure out 100 grams of the cider vinegar. It's much more accurate, but it doesn't really matter, but I'm just being lazy. Make sure that it's completely fine, you don't want bits everywhere. That's not pretty bad, I'll go in a little bit more. So I'm in the middle of chopping onions, guys. Remember to use the claw, check your fingers, and then make sure you have a nice fine dice, okay? So we're done. What an amazing pile of onions. God, I'm feeling emotional right now. I'm really crying. I'm going to use 4 tablespoons of ghee, clarified butter. Okay, I've got the ghee to a nice heat. You can tell it's warm. And now we're going to go in with the mustard seeds and the curry leaves. Very exciting. You get a lot of excitement here. Curry leaves, mustard seeds first. Let them go in. When they're hot enough, they'll start popping. Now we're going to go with the curry leaves. Just mix everything around. And they will also crisp up. So I'm now going to go in with my onions. And now this is very important, guys. We need to spend time on this. We need to spend a good 10, 15, 20 minutes. And actually, interestingly, if I'm going to time it, I'll take a video at 5-minute increments so we can see what's going on. Don't stir, as my mum always said, don't stir all the time, otherwise you won't get that brownness happening. So make sure it's all amalgamated, and then let it do its thing, give it a stir. Obviously we don't want it to burn. The top Indian tip is to have a bit of water on hand to give it a splash in case it starts to dry out and burn. But what we're really looking for is the onions to kind of dry out, or the moisture to go, and then you'll see that the oil goes into the onions, and then it will start coming out at the end once the onions are completely dried, and you should see the colour, of course, a lovely kind of golden dark brown. Okay, 5 minutes in, you can see everything's reduced down, but we've got a long way to go. I'm at 7 on my induction. Let's carry on. So now we're 10 minutes in, and you can see that there's a lot less water in there. It's all reduced down. and you can see like oil is starting to come out. Obviously they haven't browned yet. Okay guys, 15 minutes in, and yes, the oil has started to come out. It is browning now. I had to reduce the heat down to 6 because yeah, things were starting to burn. We've got another 5 minutes. I might whack the heat up a little bit, but I'll be here. I actually set the boil to boil, I cleaned the kitchen, I kind of organised stuff. I haven't done the washing up yet, but the point is I had time to do that. But now, I think the last 5 minutes, I'm going to whack the heat up, keep it stirring, make sure it doesn't burn, but make sure that we brown. But you can see, I know I'm using red onions, so it's a bit harder to see, but I like red onions, that's all that. So guys, we're really getting to the end. Can you see that? There's so much oil's come out now. It really is dry and it's really brown. So I'm giving it a good stir as I go along just to make sure it doesn't completely burn. But because we had a decent amount of oil, it's likely to burn. Often people don't use enough oil and the onions will burn rather than brown. We're almost at the 20-minute mark, guys. So this is a little bit of an experiment here just to show you how to cook your onions properly. At this point, we would go on normally in a traditional curry and add the spices, coriander, cumin, salt, chilli, turmeric, and we will make sure that every single of those spices is properly incorporated. Of course here we've got the spice paste, so we'll do that instead, but and then we've got the tomatoes. So in a typical curry we would add the spices, then the tomatoes. This will be slightly different. It's been exactly 20 minutes now. You can see it's really brown. I'm turning it down a bit because I don't want it to burn. But now I'm going to add the masala. I'm going to add all of that beautiful masala. This is going to make it so amazing. Incorporate that. So a bit like if you're adding like dried spices to a traditional curry, we've got all those spices in here, ginger and garlic. And I'll let that cook down. Very important, same with the dried spices. Let's make sure it cooks down, then we will add the tomatoes. It's not traditional tomatoes, but I'm going to add tomatoes to it. A lot of recipes seem to add tomatoes. Cyrus Tollywalas didn't, but I'm going to add half a can of tomatoes after this is incorporated. So I don't know, it's been a good 3 or 4 minutes. I've been by the pan, again very important because you've got all those spices in there. You don't want it to burn, very important. So it will catch a little bit at the bottom. Like I said, you should have some water nearby to stop that happening if you get into an emergency. So I'm going to say about 5 minutes, then I'm going to go in with the tomato. Yeah, you can see around the edges, you can see the oil separating. So that's good. I don't want it to burn. I'm turning the heat down. Now I'm adding half a can of tomatoes. It's up to you, but about a half, maybe slightly more. And incorporate that in and let that reduce down. So look at this, guys. How amazing is that? It looks beautiful, right? It's kind of darkened. Everything's cooked off and it's amazing. Now finally to go in with the pork. It's already had its marinade, so it's got a good flavour. Then we're going to cook that off for a few more minutes. So this is kind of like very important often with curries, where you add the meat. You want the meat to kind of fry in the oil and the spices. So I'm going to heat it up a little bit. We're going to whack the heat up and make sure it kind of sizzles. And then we'll do the final bit and then we can let it cook down. You can see, you hear that sizzle. I'm kind of happy with that. Now, so into the sizzling curry we go in with half a cube and 250 ml of water. So we will let that come to the boil. I mean, wow, this is looking really amazing, right? It's a bit thick, I think, so I want to thin it down. But first, let's add a tablespoon of the jaggary. We're going to add our sliced chillies, which is quite going. And then finally, I'm going in with the tamarind that I use. But if you have concentrate, that's better. I created my own, but it's much easier to do it using the concentrate. So guys, I added a bit more water, so we're taking 500 ml of water. Make sure we get a nice consistency like this, a nice curry consistency like this. I'm sure you like that. It's tart with the vinegariness, garlicky, all those aromatics, and it's got a bit of sweetness at the back. Absolutely lovely. I hope you guys try this. I added extra salt as well. Make sure you add enough salt to make everything sing. I'd love you to try this and let me know how it goes, and please subscribe to my channel. Bye.